Hi, good morning. Welcome to Exploration in Consciousness with the Earth Nouveau Hub. It's the day before Thanksgiving, so I'm just feeling the gratitude. And today we have Michelle the Mystic to talk about astrocartography. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So, Michelle, maybe you could tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, thank you, Tanya, for inviting me here. Tanya is my Reiki teacher and has seen my journey since 2018. So I grew up in New York and moved to San Francisco 5 years ago. And that's where I met Tanya and I found Reiki and where my real greatest spiritual awakening happened. And since then, I've held women's circles. I've been a women's coach, a Reiki teacher, Reiki healer, as well as a podcast host. I host Soul Over Matter podcast. And 2 years ago, I found astrocartography, and it helped me in a huge transition in my life where I was going through a major life transition, a broken engagement, moving from the city I was living in, and I just didn't know where to go. I knew I was living in Denver at the time and it wasn't home. And so I did a reading for astrocartography, and that just opened up my world. And I solo traveled all of last of 2022. And now I started doing readings in the summer, and I love it. I love talking about it. I love sharing about it. I lived it. So today I'm going to use myself as the study and share with you how astrocartography has influenced my life. And then, I'm open to engagement. So please feel free to ask questions. I'd rather us have a conversation and bring any questions you have. But I feel like I'm always learning, always a student of life.
I love that. I love that. So, how did you find astrocartography?
Yeah, so I've always been keen to astrology. Even since I was a child, I would be in my, the computer room of my parents' home growing up and looking up, searching astrology like 2 a.m. I was just always fascinated by the human psyche and who we are and our blueprint. So astrology, it's very self-taught for me. It's very intuitive, and I feel like I'm always doing astrology readings for anyone in my life. And so astrocartography is locational astrology, right? So it's when we place our birth chart on the map of the world, and certain lines, certain planets are going to be highlighted in certain cities for you specifically. So I think I started dabbling in astrocartography maybe, what was it? Maybe early 2020 or 2021. I started like really looking into it and being fascinated by it. But I'll show everyone the map, and it can be very overwhelming. It can be like, what does this mean? It's another language. And then I found someone who did readings. So this was around fall of 2021 when I was, going through a breakup and going through, transition where I didn't know where I wanted to live. And so that's 2 years ago. So once that happened, then I started traveling to all these places and feeling the energy of the places. And then just naturally, like I do astrology, I started doing readings for people, oh, do you know where your moon line is? Oh, did you know your Venus line is in San Francisco? So that's how it found me, which I feel like is most modalities and things we learn in this lifetime, right? It's like things like we've already known from past lives.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really a great remembering that's happening. That's happening with all of us now. Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. So, so astrocartography is mapping the astrological chart to the map of Gaia or map of Earth. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like how, if you know your birth chart, and I'll give you steps on how to find your astrocartography chart, but it's as if it's like if you look at your birth chart in the astrological wheel, right, that's a snapshot of all the planets when you were born. And then when we place that on the map, it's like, okay, when you were born, Venus was rising in Santa Fe, or, you know, Saturn was rising in Japan. So all of our birth charts are different and unique. And so therefore all of our maps are unique. And I'll show you the map in a few minutes, but it'll highlight the planets. So say, right, your Saturn is in the sign of Sagittarius, right? If you go to your Saturn line, that will be highlighted for you. And Saturn is the planet of, it's ruled by Capricorn, right? So it's all about responsibility. It's all about day-to-day earthly realm subjects, you know, the things that most of us don't love doing, right? The chores and the bills. And so maybe going to your Saturn line, you will feel that energy a little more heightened, like getting to work and getting to, you know, do kind of the nitty-gritty of life.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm also curious, like how that would apply, you know, in many different, you know, aspects of how, well, like how Venus, you know, how Venus responds in your chart, and how, you know, Mars would respond in your chart. Like what would be some of the differences, you know, that we would see in the locations where those lines fall.
Yeah, so I can share about the planets. So our chart is in 4 quadrants, right? So we have our ascendant line. So I'll start with those 4 points first. So our AC, if you look to your astrocartography map and you see AC, that represents your rising sign, right? So our rising sign is our ascendant, and our rising sign is all about ourselves, right? It's first house. It's the energy that very personal. So if we go to a place that is highlighting our AC line, it's going to be a lot of self energy, a lot of self growth, a lot of self reflection, very geared towards who we are. If we go to so that's like the beginning of the quadrant, right? Then if we go to 4, that's the 4th house, IC line. The IC line is home. The IC line is the energy of ancestry, the line of family, the line of roots, the line of, you know, other, right? But in the way of who we came from, right? So that if we go to an IC line, you might feel more of a need, or this might come up more of healing your ancestry or going through the trauma of your childhood. You know, a lot of childhood inner child work will be on your IC line. Then we go to the next quadrant, which is our DC line, our descendant. Our descendant is all about relationship. It's all about relationship with other. This could be romantic. This could also be friendship. This could be business partnership. So when we're on our DC line in astrocartography, it's going to highlight the other, and how are we related to others in that space. Then the MC line is our midheaven. Our midheaven is our 10th house. It's all about career. It's all about public image. It's all about, you know, our purpose and why we're here. So that will highlight, and I could share about that too. The MC is all about, yeah, who are we in the world? So those are the 4 quadrants. If you see any of those 4 symbols, the AC, IC, DC, and MC, that will kind of give you a little key of what does this mean. So
sounds like a rap. MC, DC.
Maybe we can make one, right?
Yeah.
when we rap or when we sing, it's tied to our memory, so it might be easier. Yeah, and then I mean, I'm a visual person. I could share the map now, just
yeah,
so
go ahead.
if it makes it easier to show you.
It might make it a little easier to conceptualize what you're talking about.
And if anyone has questions, please feel free to chat. Okay. So who here has also seen this map before? Like maybe in the chat, if you want to write on a scale of 1 to 10, scale of 1 to 10, how much of astrology, like 1 being basic and then 10 being an expert, just so I know.
I mean, I would consider myself probably about a 6 or a 7, right? As far as astrology, there's a lot I don't know, but I have done a little exploration on looking up my chart here. So I am a little bit familiar with looking at a map like this. Not exactly, you know, this particular
Yeah,
version.
this it's a lot. It's a lot. I just and there's no wrong or right answer. Astrology is I'm still learning years later. There's so much to learn. So with astrocartography, right? So this is my astrocartography map. So when we're born, right, the planets, it's like a screenshot of all the planets and where they are. So I will show you the symbols. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is interesting, right? So I grew up in New York. New York is over here, right? So if you see this green line, this like green dotted line, that's Mercury. It's a little hard to see the symbols, but Mercury is up here. You could see it also over here. It kind of looks like a little head with horns.
I don't see the map in
Sorry.
I don't see the map in my screen. Do you see it, Tani?
Yeah, I do see it.
Oh,
What do you see?
nothing, just your face.
Oh,
Maybe something.
Maybe try switching to gallery view instead of
Oh,
speaker view.
okay, let me see. Thank you.
And that might allow you to see the map.
Okay,
can
thank you.
everyone else see it? Everyone else can see the map.
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay.
Mm.
So I grew up in New York City, and if you see, there is a few lines that run through New York, and I'm going to go over the planetary energies as well. So the green is Mercury, and you see it's in IC. So IC, with me living on my IC line for 31 years with my family, it highlighted inner child work. It highlighted, working through my healing, family, ancestry. So the Mercury line, Mercury is the planet of communication. So if we are on our Mercury line in astrocartography, if we are visiting it, if we are traveling to it, with astrocartography as well, we don't always have to travel. I have clients that will say to me, Michelle, I don't have the financial means to travel right now. How can I benefit from astrocartography? So the beautiful thing about astrocartography is you can search your map, you can look through it, you can do a reading with me, but you can also just search your map and see, okay, I have my Mercury line, I don't know, in Egypt, right? And I can't get to Egypt, but I desire to feel the energies of Mercury, communication, public speaking. Maybe you're writing a book, maybe you are desiring to speak more and communicate more, and you are looking to feel that planetary energy. You can buy something from Egypt. You can buy clothes from Egypt. You can buy crystals from Egypt, and that will bring that energy into your home, so that you are channeling that Mercury line. So we don't always have to travel somewhere. We can tap in. You can watch movies about Egypt. You can watch movies about anything. When I was moving through that transition in my life, I found that my Venus line, which is love, romance, relationship, was in Tuscany. So what did I do? I didn't get to go to Tuscany, but I watched the movie Under the Tuscan Sun. Right? So you're able to tap into these planetary energies depending on what you are desiring in your life. So with Mercury, yeah, that's a green line. with the little head and the horns. And that's going to be communication, public speaking. You may find on your Mercury line that you are able to express yourself in a better way. People might be able to understand you. So that's Mercury. And then I moved across the country to San Francisco 5 years ago. And San Francisco is my sun line. So our sun line, if you see this, it's a circle with a dot in the middle. The sun line is masculine energy. The sun is all about being seen. So if you are on your sun line, if you're living on your sun line, if you're traveling to your sun line, the sun is going to expose who you are. You're not going to really be able to hide on your sun line. It's going to be a lot of magnetism, a lot of warmth. Think of the sun, right? It shines so brightly. And you might be seen for your work. You might be seen just going to the coffee shop. People might gravitate more towards you. So I always tell clients, I don't want to say there are positive and negative lines. It's more of what are you looking for in your life? So with the sun line, it's a little more beneficial, right? It's going to be a little more self-confidence, a little more, the sun kind of gives you that boost of self-worth. And the sun line is where I started my business, right? My healing business, my awakening. So it kind of highlighted all those energies. So that's the sun line. That's the circle. If anyone has any questions, just interject or write in the chat. I'm looking at the chat too. So the sun line, yes. And then what else do we have? So when I started traveling, when I started my astrocartography, I kind of followed some of the lines. So if you notice in the middle of the US, I have a huge chunk right here, right? So this is like New Mexico. Actually, no, first I'll talk about Denver. So San Francisco, I was living in San Francisco, then I moved to Denver, Colorado. And I didn't know about astrocartography back then. Denver, Colorado, let me see, it's a little hard to see down here, but Denver, Colorado was squaring my nodes. And when we have a square in astrology, it can be a little more tension. So I was living in a place that wasn't helping my career. So the nodes, if we notice, you'll see up here. So the North Node, for those of you who are new to astrology, the North Node looks like it's like a horseshoe, an upside down horseshoe. It's like right up here. And the node is our purpose. It's our North Star, right? So it's what are we striving for? What are we striving for in our career, in our life? And I was living in a place that wasn't helping that. And I felt that when I moved to Denver. It kind of felt like I didn't really know, I was trying to do my spiritual business. I was also doing speech therapy, and it was kind of hard to get my footing. It felt like I was going, what is it? Up downstream, like the fish. So that was hard. That was difficult. And when I did a reading, I found that Santa Fe, New Mexico, like Santa Fe, Taos, New Mexico, if you guys are familiar, they're on the similar line. So that's like right here. And when I did a reading, she said, Santa Fe is your Venus line. So our Venus line is, like I said before, love, relationships, romance. It's also a great place to go when you are moving through a shift, when you are moving through a breakup, when you are moving through maybe grief or loss, because a Venus line, when you travel to your Venus line, you, again, kind of like the sun, but it's this warmth again, this radiance, beauty, art. You might feel more creative on your Venus line. You might feel more loved on your Venus line. When I traveled to Santa Fe, there was a lot of natural community. It wasn't hard for me to meet people. It wasn't hard for me to kind of blend in to that energy. So looking towards your Venus line when you are, or maybe you're looking for love, right? You can tap into those energies. And then also Santa Fe was, so Venus is this, so it's a circle, and then it's a circle, and
With the little cross at the
yeah, with
bottom.
the little cross underneath. It's a little difficult to see here. I actually might share another hold on, let me stop share. I'm gonna show something else. Might be a little easier.
Yeah, it's interesting that just the difference between the sun and the Venus energy, right? That love, that feeling of feeling held, and that energetic warmth. The land, just being on the land in those places can radiate that energy to you.
Yeah, and I'll actually share something too. So Santa Fe was also my Jupiter line, and Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Jupiter is the planet of abundance. People are always like, oh, I want to go to my Jupiter line, like this sounds great, like let's go, because Jupiter, it'll expand anything you are desiring. So if that's wealth, if that's, it's not always material, but it can be love too. It could be like whatever you are looking for, luck. Your Jupiter line will be really beneficial for that. So I'm actually going to share, because it can be a little tricky just to look at a map. I'm going to share so you could see the symbols too,
Right.
and also how to look for.
Yeah, I always sort of think of Jupiter as like business energy, but
Yeah, it can be business too.
yeah, I like that it's also that abundance energy. So it will magnify anything you're setting intention for.
Yeah. So this is kind of what I shared before. So it's astrology of place, astrocartography. So it's called locational astrology, relocation astrology, and based on your natal chart in astrology, there's a map that corresponds to all the different planets.
Right.
And this is what I shared before, right? So how do we tap in? We don't always have to tap in by traveling. We could also tap in through meditation, finding a meditation. Say your Jupiter line is in Egypt, right? Finding a meditation that has you travel to Egypt. You can dream, you can astral travel, like all these different ways to tap into the energies, watching movies, documentaries, again, trying their foods, purchasing crystals or goods, right? Like, so I'm in the process of actually writing a book about the last 2 years and my travels and my astrocartography. And I started wearing a ring that I bought in Santa Fe at an artisan market last year to tap into that Jupiter, it's also Saturn for me, and Venus. So yeah, there's so much we can do.
It's funny when I was preparing, just some questions and stuff today and setting intentions for this chat today, I drew a crystal card, and I don't know if you can see, this is apophyllite, which is has to do with the energy of astral traveling. So I thought that was pretty apropos
of course, Tanya,
today.
are we surprised?
No, of course not. So that's the crystal today, apophyllite. Astral traveling to the place where your abundance lines are, where your love line is.
Yeah, it's such a, it changed, astrocartography changed my life a few years ago. So I love teaching it. I love talking about it, and I love doing readings. So what you can do is the map I just showed you all before. To see yours, you can go to astro.com, create your birth chart, and then go to the extended chart selection. And on that, you'll see click on the star, the special, and then scroll down to dynamic astro map. And that's where you can see what my personal map, you could see your own map and see like, all right, where, in readings I do, people, I always ask, okay, where do you live? And we do a little snapshot of the energy that you're currently living on, because it's going to influence you. And I'm a living product of that, but I see it in all of my clients, you know, where if they're living somewhere, they'll feel that energy, or they've dreamed about going to Thailand all of their life and they don't know why, right? And it turns out they have, you know, 5 lines running through Thailand. I always say, like, astrology doesn't lie. It's an astrocartography. It's just like this extra layer, right? If you love travel, if you're a wanderlust energy, you know, it kind of gives you, I do readings for people that, yeah, looking for a vacation. And I'll talk about like better spots for vacation. But it's, yeah, after a breakup, after a big transition in your life, if you're looking for love, right, to travel to your Venus line. So yeah, so this is also a beautiful thing. The influences of the lines can be felt up to 400 miles from the focal point. So obviously the closer to the line, the higher amplified energy that you will feel. But yeah, the lines can be felt pretty far. So I talked about the sun already. So the moon line, I actually live on my moon line right now. Las Vegas. I never in a million years thought I would live in Las Vegas, but my moon line is here. And what is the moon line? The moon line is all about our emotions. It's all about our deeper intuition. Think about the moon, right? She's waxing and waning. There's this constant feminine aspect and this cycle happening when you are on your moon line. Moonline is also great for family, right? Becoming a mother or being a maternal figure for others. There's this deep, deep compassion when you are on your moonline, and a deep sense of, roots, home, family. So I was living in Sedona, which is my Pluto line, and I'll talk about that. And I met my now fiance, and he was traveling through Sedona. So you can also meet people through, you can channel that line energy through people. So this man from Las Vegas was traveling through Sedona, and that was my moon line. So there was that energy, right? Like, oh, there's home there. Oh, there's family there. This is all subconscious, right? But you can also tap into these energies, like noticing who you meet and where they come from. And maybe you have those lines there. So, oh, Jody, hi. Oh yeah, I'm currently writing the book about it. It's been a movie. I've literally lived a movie the last couple of years. So yeah, the moon energy, right? A lot of internal energy as well, right? It's that feminine. It's very opposite from the sun. So Mercury, we talked about as well, right? Communication, intellect. We talked about Venus, beauty, success. You know, Jupiter's about success, and Venus can be about success too. So I put the little symbols, right? Because that can be tricky too. So Mars is a line I wouldn't say you necessarily want to live on long term. And I'll talk about a client I had, but Mars is fire, right? Mars is Aries energy. It's associated with passion, excitement, being assertive. So when we are on our Mars lines, they're great for initiating maybe a project you're doing, or maybe, you know, something that is very tangible because you have that fire with you, that inner passion, that becoming a leader. But again, Mars can have the flip side, right? It can be a little overstimulated. It could be aggravated. So Mars is very physical. When you're on your Mars line, you're going to have to move your body. You're going to have to, you know, exert that energy, because we can get sick if we stay stagnant. So spending a lot of time on our Mars line, if you have great ways to blow off steam, if you have a great exercise regime, it will be beneficial. But I had someone who, she said, I lived on my Mars line for 30 years, and I just felt like even when I wanted to rest, there was this underlying current of, I have to do things, I have to move, I have to go. So yeah, Mars, like everything, right? There's always a shadow and a light side. So that's Mars energy. Jupiter, we kind of touched on. Jupiter, yeah, the planet of luck, of abundance, especially when it comes to material possessions. So for me, Jupiter is, and we have multiple lines throughout the world, right? So I could have my Jupiter line through Santa Fe, and then you might also have a line through, I don't know, India, right? Because it's kind of like we're forced to look at the astrocartography map on 2D, right? You know, like on a plane line, but it is the globe. So there are going to be intersecting lines, and there are going to be a few that come about.
Now,
more.
would you say that, so when we're talking about it in like a three-dimensional aspect, and you have a line that goes, you know, through one, does it go all the way then around? Does it, yeah, go all the way around? It's sort of like, yeah, got it.
Yeah. So like
In whatever
say,
angle it's tilted at.
so like how my sun line is in San Francisco, right? It's obviously going to be in Portland, and you know, it's going to go all the way up and around. And yeah, great question. So Jupiter, yeah, that, yeah, luck, abundance, success. On my Jupiter line, I received a offering to write a chapter in a multi-author book when I like signed the contract on my Jupiter line. So, and what else did I do on my Jupiter line? I also did open mic night for the first night, you know, so it kind of it opens up these opportunities for you. And also seeing, you know, what it's going to highlight. So with those 4 quadrants I shared before, right? Is it going to highlight your AC, your rising, your personal growth, yourself, or is it going to highlight IC, family, healing? So there are also those secondary layers to it as well. Saturn is one of the more, I don't want to say negative, but it's going to highlight responsibilities and lessons. Our Saturn line is the more serious side. It's ruled by Capricorn. So when we go to places on our Saturn line, we are learning our values, right? And there might be transformation on that fundamental level, because Saturn is responsibilities, duties, so it's the earthly realm, the earthly things that we have to do. So it might not be the most comfortable line to be on, but again, as we all know, right? Change is for the better, and it helps us grow and learn. So I know people that were on their Saturn line, right? And they had many lessons come to them, and I don't want to say it was hard, but a lot more happening in their lives. So Uranus is a great place to vacation. I actually just went to my Uranus line mine's in Austin, Texas. So Uranus is the planet of changing, right? It's a planet of innovation, technology, life's extremes. I always say, if you're on that line, expect the unexpected, because there's a lot of novelty here. So if you're feeling stuck in a rut, going to Uranus line might be a great place to kind of get you out of that comfort zone and allow you to experience things in a more abstract way, you know, a bigger way. So yeah, Uranus it's an interesting line. I think it's ruled by Aquarius, so there's a lot of like that galactic energy.
And a lot of that energy of flow too.
Yes. Yeah, so Uranus, I say, you know, if you're deciding to live on that line, yeah, remember you got to be in that flow. You have to go with the flow, because there is going to be a lot of unexpected things. So Neptune, our Neptune line is all about spirituality. Our Neptune line is all about Pisces. Pisces is the planet of illusion as well. It's a planet of subconscious. So if you say you're looking for a spiritual retreat, look to your Neptune line, because it'll highlight that even more. When you're on your Neptune line, you will be even more deeply connected to your channel, to the higher realms, to your higher self. My Neptune line is in San Diego. But I realize I can't stay there too long, because I'm naturally in the higher chakras, and that Neptune energy will kind of put you in that dream state, you know, in that while Saturn is having us deal with earthly things, Neptune will kind of have us in that fog of spirituality or kind of escapism. But it's also great, right? It's imagination will be at play here. There'll be a lot of creativity and yeah, it's a great place for vacation or for spiritual retreats.
I'm curious if you had the experience of remembering your dreams more fully when you were hanging out on your Neptune line.
Yeah. I also have, I'm going to share this in the book I'm writing, but I had an experience. Ooh, it's wild. So when I was living in Denver, I think it was like winter early January, early 2021. I was living in Denver and I had a dream. I was sitting at this desk and there was this like very distinct wallpaper. And I was sitting working at this desk and I woke up from that dream and I'm like, that's weird. You know, you're just like, oh, it's just a dream. Then I house and pet sat all of last year while I was also traveling and nomading. And I get to this woman's house and I'm watching her two dogs. And all of a sudden I'm sitting at this desk and I'm seeing this wallpaper and I'm having a flashback and this deja vu of that dream. And it happened on my Neptune line. So that you're just reminding me like, yeah, that was almost, you know, my higher self kind of coming in early 2021 to be like, your life is going to change, you know, there's something that's different. So that was kind of an interesting experience on my Neptune line.
Yeah, it seems to me like if you want to, it's a good place to travel your Neptune line if you want to delve deeper into that dream time energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The spirituality, and the healing as well. I think my IC line is in San Diego. So when I was there, I was feeling a lot of upheaval, not in a bad way, but you know, the growth, the healing happening on that line, a lot of internal, right? Our IC line is our home. So even if you look to your fourth house in your astrological chart, it'll tell you a lot about the energies that you possess when you're home, rather than your MC line, which is how others perceive you, how the external, you know, how I show up here presenting rather than me sitting on the couch and you just being in your home environment. So it's really interesting to see those aspects as well.
Cool. Yeah, so we can think of maybe like ICI internal, MCM meta.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that. So Pluto is like Saturn, but it's a little more intense. I actually have a dear friend who's lived on her Pluto line for 4 decades. So Pluto is all about drama, cycles, transformation, right? It's a planet of transformation, of death and rebirth, and it's ruled by Scorpio. So locations on your Pluto line will kind of force you to confront those uncomfortable truths or, you know, open up repressed memories, emotions. So our Pluto line's a great place to go for growth. If you're looking for that transformation, if you're looking for that shift, you know, if you're moving through an awakening or if you're moving through something big in your life, following your Pluto line will kind of bring up any repressed things, anything you haven't looked at. So I lived on my Pluto line for 6 months in Sedona, Arizona, and it wasn't directly on it, so I didn't feel the full effects, but there was a lot of shifts, right? I had moved from New York 4 years prior, and I got like a random jury duty notice, and I was like, okay, so it was asking me to clean up, you know, those remnants of that old life. So yeah, Pluto will have you rise from the ashes, right? That energy. So I think that's it for the planets.
Right.
Does anyone have any questions? Anything coming up?
Well, my question would be like, how this one look more simple, like a more simplified, and at the same time more grounding for me to be able to accept it, because I having like a rebel myself against astrology, because having used it in so much manipulation and control, and I was like, against anything that has to do with astrology, because just my antenna go like bing 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 bing, control, because if you coming from Pisces and then you're supposed to behave this way, and you have to go to learn so kind experience in life, and if you are Taurus, you this, it's like a preconcept of what you have to be your behavior to navigate in this 3D world. And I always after I have going through many information, I guess, and different people practicing different area, and then you get so much from this side, from the other side, and sometimes it's not impacting the same way. And then I having maybe almost 20 years rejecting everything that had to do with astrology, because I was rebel myself about be set up in a box, because I was born in in a specific day, in a specific time. I was rejecting all that almost 20 years ago. But the way how you presenting is like a little more grounded, because in this position about like everything that is information, it's just like, oh, another control system, that's my position in this case. I think I'll have to navigate a little more information about this to see if I can adapt it to myself, because I said astrology for me, I just run away, because my back experience for all that craziness program that we have.
No, you make a good point. I agree with you where, when we learn our signs, or even like human design, or, other modalities, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, or like I'm a star seed from, Andromeda. And it's like we still box ourselves. So I agree with you. It's
Mhm.
I see everything, and I'm sure others will agree, right? It's like we can see these things as tools,
Mhm.
right? And things might not happen on those lines, right? But there's going to be that energy that's underlying. And I think it kind of grounds, that astrology into places, right? Like Tanya said before, if you're on your Venus line, that land there, it's going to kind of welcome you. And I felt that. I even watched a movie about Santa Fe the other day, and I started crying. I actually missed the land there.
Mhm.
So I like thank you for sharing that. I think,
Mhm.
it's always good to see things as tools and not black and white, like, okay, I have to follow this
Mhm.
system.
And
Yeah.
I mean, for me, just looking at astrology, I mean, I think there's many, many, many different ways, right, that we can connect with the energy of our birth. And it was for me, it's almost like, okay, how can I, again, use these as tools? How can I transcend through, right, certain energies? And it's almost like using that as almost like a template for growth that you can springboard from, right? I mean, I think we're all here to, to learn and to grow and to open more fully to our path and purpose. And when you look at those energies as learning tools, it's like, oh, okay, my rising sign is in Leo. What are the benefits and what are the struggles there, right? But so how can I transcend through that, right? If there's like I'm a Taurus, right? I'm born in April, like you, Herminia, and everything you read about Taurus is Tauruses are stubborn. You're so
Exactly.
stubborn. You're stuck. You're grounded, and so like, how can I transcend through that, right? How
Exactly.
can I say, oh, wait, maybe this is a tendency that I have, but I don't want that tendency. So how can I, work through my issue so I can transcend that?
You know, the other thing that actually comes up for me is like, I love it as a tool for hindsight, you know, because you can actually look at which countries, which places have I lived, and depending on the planetary constellations and whatever the chart is saying, you can actually say, have I really tapped into all the possibilities and the potential having lived there, or is there something that is not completed yet?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes, you know, we intuitively leave places once we are complete, right? But there are certain places that keep us they keep calling us back. And the other thing is, you know, we can also flip this whole thing onto the planetary, onto the service that we're actually here for, because just by us traveling to all these places, we are not just being in service to our own sort of purpose, but we're also taking up our responsibilities for the planets, right?
Yeah.
By connecting these places. And intuitively, what I've always done, and I'm just going through another journey now, and I'm already working along those lines, and I never really understood why I was doing it. I am always going to different places, and I either take a ring or a necklace or a piece of clothing or anything that I have bought in another country. It's almost like I don't wear necessarily the clothes of the particular place that I'm in. And I always bring in other ones. And this time around, I'm going to Peru in December. I'm particularly, for some reason, invited to look at all the places that I've been the last 3 years and make sure that I have one piece of those places with me.
It's like a keeping the flow. It's like a keeping the flow of the connection, or like the next one keep in the same link, or and bring the same energy connection between one place to the other.
I'm quite aware it's a personal pilgrimage almost, you know, and obviously there's so many more places I've been. I never thought along those lines, but just particularly the last two years I've been thinking, or 3. And because that being of service, having a responsibility to plan the culture, the whole awakening and everything is coming more to the forefront now, isn't it? It's almost like, you know, we look at these things and yes, it's our chart and it's our map and everything, but, you know, and we learn about ourselves, but we've already gone through so much of that learning. And now it's almost like, what, you know, who am I actually servicing? Who am I actually supporting here by going to the various places? So it's a brilliant tool. One more question. When you do that, what do you need? Do you need to have your just your birthday or your exact what time, what minute and that?
Yeah, so someone actually has a question, and I can share, I'll share the map, but yeah, when I do readings, I ask for your birth time, your birth date, and the location. And then I also ask for where you're currently living, so I can look at the energy of where you live. And then I ask you for 2 places that are calling to you, or 2, you know, subjects like love, career, you know, whatever it is. But most of the time, my clients, the 2 places that they pick have multiple lines going through those places, and they've never looked at it before. So Sandrine, you have a great question. I'm going to show, and Marissa asked too. Okay, so I'm going to show you. I do have, I think you can create an account. I don't think you have to pay. I don't pay for astro.com, but I'm going to share my screen again and show you make sure I'm not sharing anyone else's private info.
And I'll take a screenshot and I'll drop it in the chat, but I'll also drop it in the comments of the recording when we're done, so everyone can, you know, easily navigate that. Yeah, I think you make a really interesting observation, Martina. It's like who are we serving, right? By going, right, to these places, right? How can we work more fully with the people in these places, with Gaia, with Earth, right? Are we bringing different things that we're leaving in these places, right? Are we doing deep grounding and meditation in these places? Yeah. So, I think it offers a deeper, fuller way of looking.
Absolutely. And we mustn't get sidetracked by thinking you have to go and run a ceremony there, or you have to go and do a course where other people participate. You actually just have to go there and do some stuff for yourself. It could be, I mean, in my case, it's a medicine journey, yes. But, initially I thought I was just doing it for myself. But, the more the medicine is actually calling me, I'm getting a much, much bigger perception actually required of me whilst I'm going there. So it's, and just having some fun for yourself, whatever that is, it's actually the service that we're here for.
Well, and and that's it. That's what I always, tell people that I work with and work on myself, is the most important thing that we can do, I think, to manifest our purpose is to just ground our light wherever we are. And when we're grounded, when we're using that light like an acupuncture pin right into the heart of Earth, then that ripples out like the pebble in the pond. So our unique makeup, our unique energy, whether it's Western astrology or Vedic astrology or the galactic calendar, or your human design or your Enneagram, like all of these things, right, are ways to navigate who we are, right, as individuals, and what are like our best tools to share that.
Yeah, it's a really, it kind of what Martina and Tanya, you said too, right? It's this grounding energy, and Herminia as well. It's like, oh, we can utilize this astrology, and it's not just abstract, right? It's like grounding these physical vessels that we decide to incarnate in, and going to all these places, and they're places that might surprise you. I never thought. I have friends that are like, you live in Las Vegas, like you, like it's so busy and loud, but I just feel so home here because it's my moon line. It just feels so homey and community, and it's fascinating. It's really, really fascinating. And I think it also gives us a broader perspective of our lives, that it's a lot more of the our soul level as well, not just our human and the narrow-mindedness we can have sometimes of what we need, right? So so okay, I'm at astro.com.
So you're going to show us how to navigate?
Yeah, I'm trying not to like share because I have so many clients. So
sure.
What you can do though, so you go to astro.com and you create a user profile, right? So you're going to create this user profile. I would say sign up, right? So I'm logged in now. And when you sign up, you'll be able to create your birth chart. And once you create that birth chart, it's going to probably give you this screen. So this will be your chart drawing, right? With your astrological wheel, but you want to go to extended chart. When you go to extended charts, you're going to go see round is here. You're going to go to special. And then you're going to scroll down. So Astro Map, these are all the maps. And you're going to go to Dynamic Astro Map World. That's going to show you all of your lines. So these are like where intersecting lines happen. If you just want the regular, a more simple one at first, you could just do Astro Map World. I'll show you the difference. So Astro Map World is just going to show you where the specific planets are. See, there's not as many lines here. So it'll show you those. And then if you go back to dynamic, it's going to show you where they might intersect, right? So here I have a lot more of the dotted lines.
So
So
the
that's
dotted
why-
lines are the intersections.
Yeah, they're where like there's more, you see how they kind of travel around, they go
Mhm.
around like that. And then I also had a great question. I was interviewed by a client of mine, and she asked like, oh, well, what about all of these lines in the ocean? Like, what if I have so many lines in the ocean? I'm going to share this other one. Does that make sense, Sandrine? Are you able to find yours now? I think it was Sandrine, right?
Yes, I have it. Maybe
Okay.
maybe if I know I cannot share. No, because I just did mine, and I was just wondering where all the lines and everything come together. It's like a big, there is like a big, I have a big knot somewhere where all the lines actually come together, and it's right next to Iceland.
Oh, have you ever been there?
Yes.
Cool.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to
that-
make you, I'm gonna try to make you a co-host, Sandrine, and can you share your screen now?
Yeah. Wait. Yes.
So that's called, I think, like the apex. And I guess that's just, yeah, like a very highlighted energy for you. Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
So that's that area right, just to the right of Iceland on the map, like above the
Yeah.
UK, between Finland and Iceland.
Yeah. Yeah, so that, yeah, it's kind of like the apex of your chart. I think mine's in Russia, so I've never experienced the energy, but Sandrine, if you feel called to share, like, what do you remember how you felt in Iceland?
Well, it's funny enough, I always had kind of an aversion for the Scandinavian countries. I have no idea why. I'm from Europe. I'm from Luxembourg, this very small country right in the middle of Europe. And but the Scandinavians, I always was a little bit But when with the Girl Scouts, we made a camping and a summer camp in Iceland. So we traveled through the Shetland Islands to Iceland. Shetland Islands I adored. I also adored being in the British Isles anyways. And Iceland, yeah, it was just fantastic. I mean, this is like nature, pure nature and rough, and it's wonderful because also our guide, he was telling us ghost stories every little corner we went, every stone that we found, he was just telling ghost stories and little fairy tales and all that. So yeah, very interesting. But this is like right in the middle of the ocean of nowhere, or is that near Faroe? I don't know. I will look that up.
So
That's very interesting.
we'll all have some kind of apex where the lines all cross together?
Yes. Yeah, everyone will have one. And then Sandrine, what you were saying before, yeah, the ocean. So say, yeah, you have a lot of the lines. It might be an indication of past lives, right? Because of the lost lands of Atlantis, of Lemuria. So looking to see, and Tanya, you might be able to help me. So like between Africa, right, and Australia, I don't know the lost land there, but like, I do know for
Lemuria. What was Lemuria?
is
Mu.
it Lemuria there too?
Mu and then Sunda. I mean, it depends on what name you want to give it. Sundaland or Mu.
I mean,
So,
Mu is usually considered Pacific in the Ring of Fire. So you can only see half and half here on this map. So it would go, you know, around the coast, right down through Japan, around Australia, and then down through all of those southern Pacific islands. If you draw like a circle around that Ring of Fire, and then come back on the California, Alaska, South America side. That's generally considered where Lemuria was.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that looking at where your apex is, that's going to be more Atlantean energy or Magi energy.
So yeah, I've had
And-
clients who ask
and so
about,
I'm currently on Cabo Verde Island, which is just where I'm pointing at. You see my pointer? I don't know. You can see my pointer. So it's off the coast of Senegal, right here, where it's a dotted green line and it's IC.
And that
So
looks
it's
like
the inner child line.
and that looks like Mercury. Or is it
Yeah.
Venus? I can't tell. It looks like
Mercury.
I think it's Mercury. Yeah, so a lot of ancestral healing, inner child. Yeah, that's where. And that, it's right by Africa too. So again, remembering the lines, they are about 400 miles where you'll feel the influence.
And what is a black line with A? The A line, the
So
sign I don't.
A is ascendant, that's your rising sign, and then that's a Saturn. So black, that's a Saturn symbol. So it would be a lot of self-reflection with lessons, with responsibilities.
Ooh, excellent. Okay, I funnily enough, in this chart, because I'm Aries and ascendant Aries, but I had other charts that told me that I'm ascendant Virgo, so it's kind of funny.
Oh,
But
wow.
if I'm double Aries, my goodness, and I'm a full moon child, and okay, it's all going there, right?
the ascendant is
Nothing.
determined by the time you were born, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Virgo, that's not even close to Aries. That's interesting.
Yeah, so maybe it was just one of these places where I did it, and it's like, not the correct one, but maybe this one is more accurate in that sense. But many things, yeah, very interesting.
Well, that might make a difference if you chose AM instead of PM or vice versa.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, no, but I know that I was born in the morning, so 7 a.m. So yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so it's fascinating, it's really interesting, kind of like Martina, what you said about the hindsight, looking at your chart and then looking to see all the places you've traveled to, all the places you've lived, you visited, and seeing like what energies are at play there and how they did influence your life when you were there. It's very fascinating. It kind of gives us, that opportunity to heal or to help the land heal, or highlight for others, because you're able to look at the different planetary lines and how they will influence your life, but also others around you.
And also, I think it's an invitation to just really get yourself out a bit more. It doesn't have, as you said, Michelle, it doesn't have to be on a real plane, but get interested in other people's lives, in other countries, in other cultures, and things like that. The other thing that what I have in my house, I go to markets a lot, so I find things or they find me. And I don't know how many different cultures, countries I have in my house, different bits and pieces from. Most of the time I don't even know where it's from until I figure it out. A year later, it's been there already for some time. And that because and this is the realization just for me, because I was thinking, why am I going to Peru now? Is I am a celestial medium. I am a cultural medium. So when I look at your map, it freaks me out a little bit because I cannot do locations. Yeah. And everything just goes, the veil goes, and they tell me, don't look at it, don't look at it. Have a session with her, because she will tell you, you don't need to know where everything is. It just freaks me out. Yeah. But when it comes to a cultural thing, what habit patterns, languages, even, not that I speak that many, Sandrine, you speak a lot of languages, don't you? And things like that. But so yeah, that kind of stuff is potent. Such an amazing, I'm fascinated. I've never heard of this before. And I've had my charts done, but never really understood what the people do. Just tell me what it is, and then we'll take it from there. But that is another element in it. And I think it's very timely as well. Everything happens in divine timing. You guys coming on today talking about this, because everything is speeding up now. And we have to go across country. We have to go across continents now. And of course, with the internet, with the media that we have now, it's as simple as that. Even listening to the songs of other countries and things like that. So thanks very much, Tanya and Michelle, for coming on. That's fantastic.
Well, and you know, one of the reasons I love connecting with y'all is, you know, we are all over the world here. You know, so each time we connect together and commune, right, we're each not only bringing our personal energies, but we're also bringing our locational energies
Mhm.
into this group, right, to sit with each other, right, to sit with the energies of what's going on, right, and ground energy from every place that each of you are.
So beautiful. It's amazing.
And it's also, you know, it's also cool to look at careers, or, you know, what kind of jobs did we have? Because I've always worked in the oil industry, which was, you know, connecting so many different countries. And even the journey I'm going to now, there will be 70 people on it, including the facilitators.
Yeah.
Look, it's like, oh my God, all different countries. You know, we had one of those chats, and like, oh my God.
Martina, I think that you represent the United Nations, but and a very we can say universal United Nations membership.
Well, and the main thing, and you can already say thank you for that, but at least that's what I'm attempting, is to
Yeah.
have a huge heart opening for the world. For myself first, but, you know, let's hope everyone will benefit from it, you know.
Exactly. You're going to be open door for us as international.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
universal.
Well, you know, we are building the house, huh? So
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, I shut up just now, but what I'm going to say now is, like, you're all going to come with me anyway, you know, so you will be there
Yeah.
too, you know. So yes. All right.
But you know, Michelle, I want to mention you something, because I like the point of view that if you have like let's say I bring a stone from a particular area, I feel the connection, because if we are multidimensional being and we are experiencing different level, there are not really the separation from the place. Like if I see a picture from the big island, I feel connected with the land and I feel over there. If I see like the world from China, I connect in that with that side and I feel that I'm part of that side. And it's interesting because I was living in Miami for almost 20 years, in different area in Florida, but mostly Miami. And I was feeling like a suffocated all the time. It was like this survival, like this cabinet is like against something all the time. And then when I came to United States, I moved to Florida maybe 3 months later, and I reject New York. Now I came back to New York like 20 years later, and then in New York, everything opening up. And it's so crazy because I was telling my friend the other day, when I go into Manhattan, it's like I'm driving and I feel like in this zone, like very so smooth and very peaceful. It's like coming back to a place that I know from long times ago. It's with a craziness, driving in Manhattan, in New York, all this, and I feel like I'm home. And then I feel like so released, so much peace. Doesn't matter how crazy the traffic it is. It's like coming to this zone that put me in this ease feeling and like in this bubble or relaxing. It's very very unique. Maybe if I follow this direction that you're showing, maybe I will understand a little more what's it behind that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's also why, you know, if you hear people, some people are like, oh, I really want to go to, I don't know, Costa Rica. And then other people are like, oh, I don't have any desire to ever go there. So it's because of those influences as well. So yeah, it's really fascinating. Really, really fascinating. But yeah, no, thank you all for being here, for sharing, and for inviting me. I love talking about this, and I do readings. I'm also Michelle the Mystic on Instagram. That's where I'm most seen, and I talk about things there. But yeah, if you send me a DM or if you're interested in a reading, I am doing $50 off for the rest of this month if you book before December 1st. So yeah, I'll put my link in my Instagram link in the show notes.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I'll make sure to list everything, all your information, when we post on YouTube as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and do you have a website, Michelle?
Yes, I will share that as well.
Great.
Can I ask another question, Tanya? Do we have time?
Yeah,
Oh,
plenty. We've got time.
yes. Okay. I was wonder, in this case, if we're looking for this kind direction, for us to use this tool, let's see if we have like some area that, for example, I went to Nevada for 3 months. I was trying to move over there, and completely my plan was like a side down, and it was like I had to left from there, like, almost with nothing in my pocket. And when I got there, I had a feeling like I came back home. However, everything was like a completely change of what I was planning to do. In this case, this tool helping to be able to release maybe some past business that we had in those areas that we go for something and it completely opposite what we were thinking. It's like something that can be navigated to release whatever is in that area from, let's say in my case, or it's something that just because I find out, at that time that I was not supposed to be there, or it's something that I can use to be able to transform that experience from that specific area.
I mean, I think that, one of the ways you could use the astrocartography birth chart, the birth map, is to understand when you are traveling somewhere, what kind of energies are going to be available to you, what kind of energies are going to be, present for your own work and transformation, right? Like you said, it was something that you weren't expecting, right? So maybe it was your IC Neptune line, right? That brought things up to the surface and became, sort of like this unexpected energy.
Yeah, it's a great tool to kind of hone in on certain energies and what you desire to look at or to avoid, certain places, because you don't want to feel that, like the Mars energy, right? That could be big, fiery, and if you're looking for a vacation, you might not want to stay on your Mars line because it might feel that
not necessarily relaxing.
Yeah, exactly. More productivity. We don't want that on vacation. So yeah, it's really fascinating. Like I forgot what lines I have in Glastonbury, England, but I had this urge to just go, and I had never heard of Glastonbury. And then all of a sudden I was going to Europe, and I was like, I have to go to Glastonbury. I have to do a tour there. And I think I have my Neptune and my Venus line there. So yeah, I also think it ties into our past lives, some planetary lines might be highlighted because we had past lives in those countries or those cities. Yeah, it's super fascinating.
Well, and that also speaks to the ability to recover soul shards from past lifetimes, right? On specific lines, right?
Yeah.
If you past lifetimes in England, right? And you have your Neptune line there and your Venus line there, right? That's going to bring up a whole set of maybe lessons that are going to be difficult to find in other places.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
There's just what's this guy called, this a scientist, Hussein Hulaman.
Oh, Nassim Haramein,
Nassim Haramein,
the physicist. Yeah.
Thank you. He's actually he's made a statement the other day, I think on Instagram, saying that all our protons are actually little little wormholes. And that just brings up that amazingly expansive idea, thinking about, you know, you go to all these different places and you're being activated. And there is no limitation to actually what you can create when you realize that you are a whole accumulation of wormholes, because you can just go super, super deep, or, you know, high, or, you know, that kind of thing. And sometimes, and I think this is just by having, of course, we can do this in meditation and la la la, but I think, you know, that's the whole sort of excitement of having a tool, having our bodies, you know, because we don't even have to literally think about it. We just go into a certain place, and those photons, those wormholes, those cells get activated, and shit just happens, right? But just getting out of the plane or meeting that one particular person, you know, I might go down the high street in London, and this is another reason why we live certainly in certain places which are full. In London, there are not many Londoners in London, really, you know, so whoever you pass by, that separation of densities, all different people, all different countries, right? And it's the same what we have in the States, if you think about it, you know. I mean, the people came from everywhere, those settlers, you know, and things like that. It's quite fascinating, actually, this whole thing. I love this tool. And somebody said it as a grounding. There is an element of grounding, because you can actually pinpoint it, you know. You take the metaphysical sort of ideas, and Iceland, yes. You know, that kind of thing. I love that. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think too, you know, it's like we can look at where all of those astrological signs and the IC, the DC, the MC fall on the map, but also thinking about places that you don't have any of those intersecting lines. Like I traveled to Egypt last February, and it was a really transformational, amazing experience. But I don't have any astrological lines that go through that area. And I had never really been guided to go. But when my friend Melanie was going, I just knew that I had to go on the trip with her. And so this energy, you know, instead of being directed by my astrological chart per se, it was directed by me. Right. It was like this self-generating energy that allowed me not to have any other influences except the work that I was supposed to do there in that space.
I also believe, I mean, some of the places are just because, I mean, Egypt and that whole area is charged already, you know, and there is a portal there. I mean, it's so obvious it's there. I mean, how big do they need to build the pyramid to say that there is something happening there? But so there are just, I do believe there are these places that just have these nodes, you know, and you are probably been drawn to it from somewhere, somehow, you see. So I don't think that it necessarily always has to do with what is going through us or not, you see.
Sure. I think too, you know, because there's so many intersecting ley lines there, right, that then travel all around the world. It's like, what energy are we picking up from the astrological chart on one of those ley lines that's drawing the energy into that space?
Yeah. And you know, that made you an even better facilitator in service to the world, because you didn't have any entanglements. You didn't go there
Exactly.
yourself, but you went there as a true facilitator.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I'm curious now, Martina, if you have any astrological lines going through Peru since you're traveling there. We'll have to take a look at that.
Check it out.
I have one, and I'm going there next year. So, and it's right there in Machu Picchu, right there, Lake Titicaca, and it's a violet A line with a symbol that is like this.
That's probably the Pluto line.
Pluto.
Yeah, I'm gonna do mine. I have to do mine, but I'll probably need Michelle to help me look at the location.
It's so fun. And there are also minor placements too. So Tanya, you might have some lines in Egypt because they're like harmonious and disharmonious. So like if the two planets are squaring,
Mhm.
right, that's like how I look at it too, because you might have a sun line there, but there might be disharmonious placements where the sun is squaring Saturn. So it might be a little more I don't want to say difficult, but there might be more challenges. So yeah, there's different aspects as well. That's like deeper astrology, the square, conjunction, and but yeah.
Trine or a trine.
Mm-hmm.
But
And you
and
know,
how sorry,
Go.
Martin. Oh no, my question was how frequently we had to check, because I know like people's, let's say like, let's see, Venus is in such and such, like every specific time of the year, the planet alignment of the planet, or the aspect in that I have for Jupiter, and those, how frequently those change depending on the season that we are in the moment, and in a specific time area where we live. Let's see, like in Europe or Asian, and then US is like a different time, and the season is different from South America than from North America. That had something to do affecting the chart or no?
No, so our astrological birth charts never change. So your astrocartography will always stay the same. It doesn't show transits. Yeah, it's just you. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it won't be like, oh, my Venus line is in Santa Fe, and then in 20 years it's in another place. It
Oh.
stays the same. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds better.
Although, I mean, the continually moving astrological transits are going to influence like what's going on in Venus for you, or in your sun, or
Mm.
etc. So, I mean, those influences the transits could influence the energies that are
Mhm.
happening on that line.
Yeah, because when they talk about the conjunction, the one planet with another planet, then my my aspect from Jupiter is in such in conjunction with another planet, and all those changings constantly is like I completely get lost, and I don't get them more because it's like a follow every day to see where is my Venus today, something like that was my perception. And that was the one I was like, forget about it. It's like a too much headache and too much program.
So Marissa asked, the circles on the lines are those central points. So great question, Marissa. Those circles, if you guys will notice, it's hard to see on the smaller map, but if you see circles going through the lines, those are actually zenith points. So the zenith is where you will feel the most energy of that planet. So it's pretty cool. Let me see if I can.
Maybe you can show us an example.
Yeah. I think most
Well,
of
I can
them
show you on mine. I mean,
Sure. Most of mine are in the ocean. Probably in Lumeria.
Right?
so yeah, mine as well. Let's see.
Yeah. So you see these circles. So green, I think, is Mercury. So yeah, you have a lot in the ocean as well. But here you have a purple one on the left side. I forgot what.
Yeah,
purple.
one in the south of
Purple
Vietnam.
is Pluto. So Pluto.
And one in the south of Myanmar. Okay.
One in Madagascar, it looks like.
Yeah.
One above Bolivia, like Brazil, Bolivia. So yeah, the
What?
zenith points, that's where you'll feel the highest amount of energy. It's pretty, yeah. Philippines, you have 2.
And right there in Trinidad. Okay, we have to go to Trinidad.
So yeah, great question, Marissa.
Cool. Martina, did you have a question before? Or a comment?
Hmm,
You lost it.
I lost it. I lost it. Yes, I lost it.
You are lost.
In space and time.
Yeah. I wonder, I wonder if there's a way to I'm just thinking out loud, but I wonder if there's a way to astrologically chart for the galaxy. Wouldn't that be
Oh,
interesting?
wow.
Or for the solar, like for the solar system.
Well, then you would need to know when it was born, sweetheart.
Well, I mean, based on your own birth time. Like, I wonder if there's a way to, expand that math.
Yeah, I think there is something. The next level of astrology will be galactology.
Okay.
We're getting there, but it's a good question. What are we going to use for it? You know,
For that,
But
all that astral traveling through the galaxy.
I actually have a friend, she does, I don't know if it's galactic astrology, but I did a reading with her years ago, and they're like points, I guess, on our chart that will say if we have, starseed lineage, like certain places. It was really fascinating. So
Oh,
maybe,
interesting.
yeah, not planetary, but I guess planetary, but yeah, she I don't know if she's still doing them, but yeah, there was like, she shared, oh, you're, part of Orion's belt and this and that, and you're here, she shared like my mission and like what I was here for. So, oh yeah, Marissa. So wow, that's a big circle. I can't see where it is. Okay, is that Brazil? I think Brazil.
Sao
So
Paulo.
that's your Neptune line. So that's your Neptune in MC. So that would be a lot of your spirituality and like the external. The MC is your public image. So yeah, if you ever were like desiring to create a retreat, that would be a great place to do it, because it's your MC, your public image energy, your career. So cool.
All right, create a retreat in Sao Paulo or Rio. That'll be fun. Wow.
Or even going, so there's also I didn't touch on Chiron. Chiron's not a planet, but it's a comet, and Chiron is the wounded healer. So if you have Chiron, I think it shows up on our charts. Chiron will, like, say you have Chiron in MC, if you're there on that line, your healing will be on more of a public display. Like whatever healing you're moving through, it'll be inviting you, kind of what you said before, Martina, it'll be inviting you to kind of share your process and help others in that way. So yeah, oh, that's so cool, Marissa, visiting next year. Yeah, I love to hear from clients after they go to these places and after they have more self-awareness of what lines are activating their chart.
Yeah, I noticed that I have a sun line going through the big island of Hawaii. And Hawaii is just, I mean, such a beautiful, amazing, healing place for me. It's a great retreat place, but just a place that does have that, that warmth and community and just, the flow, the love. I also have a Venus line going through the Yucatan. So I really love that energy as well.
That makes me actually think of something, if you have those lines going through, like, if then something happens in that area, in those countries, like Hawaii, for instance, that would probably affect you more as an individual than somebody else who is not connected to that particular land, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think so.
So that is another thing, another little puzzle piece, to realize when you get affected by certain happenings in the world, and you're not entirely sure why that, really rattles your cage. you know, compared to another one. It's because of your, you know, DNA basically, because that's really what it is, isn't it? DNA inheritance connection. Yeah.
DNA dancing with the energy of Earth.
Mm. Mm. Because, you know, we are nature, we are the earth.
Yeah, I always wonder why, this is a rhetorical question, but why don't we have Earth on our birth chart?
Right.
Because we're located here? I don't know. Like, why are only all the other planets represented and not Earth?
I think there's a meme somewhere of aliens, galactic beings looking at their chart, and it's like Earth is in Sagittarius. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it because we are here to explore our inner nature? We're living, you know, in nature, we are nature, but the exploration of inner nature is actually, and this is actually something that keeps coming up for me, because ayahuasca is the medicine, the vine of the soul that actually helps us to have more appreciation, have more respect, have more honor of our Pachamama, of our earth, that kind of thing. And by connecting with the energy, we are beginning to tap into our inner nature. And that is actually soul and spirit versus the personality and the I am ego, you know. And it's really interesting because in that, the I am ego personality would be more the San Pedro, the Hujuma medicine.
Which is more of a masculine energy as opposed to the ayahuasca feminine.
It's the leader, it's the master, it's the direction of the mind. You know, but interesting, and that again, because I'm always having this thing with the heart, you know, what's the heart? And I realized that, again, the San Pedro energy is again connected. It's actually leader and mind direction, but it's a heart opening energy. It's a heart opener, the medicine for the heart opening. And ayahuasca is the medicine for the connection to the planet, to the earth, to nature, which again, obviously is connected to the heart. And those two are coming together now. And that's the journey of the Western hemisphere, is the ego personality individuation journey. And now the true nature that is coming in, that's the Eastern, the journey of the Eastern philosophies. And this is what we are bringing together now. And we always talk about, you know, we used to talk about the left and the right side of the brain, and then the male and the female. And now we're talking East-West philosophies, bringing them together. Ego and true nature. Soul and spirit, if you wish, bringing it together. And that's the journey. And that is, as Michelle just showed us, is splattered all over the bloody world, really.
Well, it's not interesting that those two medicine, masculine and feminine, is like the opposite of what our perception is from the mother, that the care, the support, the smooth one. And so Pedro is like a very soft medicine, but ayahuasca, that is the mother one. That's putting you in the roof or below in the ground. And the other one is like the masculine is San Pedro is the masculine, is opposite what we are used to. Like the masculine is stronger, and you know.
And that's a really, really big point. Actually, you're absolutely right, because you know the mother energy, the ayahuasca, is actually the much tougher one to deal with than the San Pedro. Say it's much more gracious.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Arena, yeah.
We can look now masculine, it's like direction. Not more like macho energy as this propaganda receiving all that information. Now it's like direction.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have a question about this world astrology thing. I look at my chart and I see tendency going to north. Like I have in Chukotka, it's Russian Alaska, crossing, a lot of crossing, and tendency going to Antarctic. What would you say? It's not showing on a chart Antarctic, but it's kind of like a lot of lines coming there, Antarctic. What would you say about that?
Oh, so like the apex of the lines?
Apex I have that is showing on chart, it's Russian Alaska, Chukotka next to Alaska. But tendency going again to next crossing, coming down to north to Antarctica.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Antarctica, right? It's such an unexplored land. So maybe there's, I don't know, lost lands there or something that's connected for you for past lives to work with. If there's anything, yeah, Antarctica, I feel like is that mysterious continent, right? That we're not really meant to travel to that much. So yeah, something to explore with where there are a concentration of lines.
Mm-hmm. And maybe even it's like future through our past,
Mm-hmm.
Antarctica, because a lot of groups looking what is there, and not everyone allowed even to go there.
Yeah, that's a good point. The future, right? The future.
Through past, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Can-
I think one of the original stargates, Halls of Amenti stargates, is in Antarctica.
Mhm, mhm.
So you
So,
got
yeah, maybe that's bringing all of your energy, together to have an awareness of that, of the Stargate there.
Maybe, and me being Aquarius, it's all about future. So maybe this is that connection. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd also mention, Irina, it's your work with the souls that are coming in through the North Pole,
Mhm. Yeah, future generations.
generation.
Yeah. Very
Absolutely.
much clicking.
Apart from all the technology that is hidden there. So there's definitely your galactic influence there.
Yep, very much clicking. Yeah, and my connection to kids, like I knew intuitively with my education, this is where I need to go. And working now with inner child, that is big deal for our future, because this is kind of like a bridge connection to our expansion, higher self connections, and expansion into universe.
Yeah, and the acknowledgement of love being the fabric of existence, because you always bring up the love connection,
Yeah.
And again, like Hussein was saying in an Instagram, I love the way he because I'm always like pushing on, okay, let's put this together, let's put it together with the brain, and he said it so beautifully. He said the dial is the heart and the brain is the radio.
Yeah.
So the radio can't be without the dial can't be without the radio.
No. This is what I was mentioning in my last revocation. I was sharing on my Facebook that it's like with the vision, but you can't ignore logic of your brain. You nothing here without brain, nothing. You won't be able to translate anything you receive through heart, of course.
Yeah. And it's the realization that, the universe is mental, but this is where we're getting to. Yeah. Again, I'm not taking the heart out. Yeah. Without there is no mentalism without the heart. There's another thing, actually. Sorry, we're going slightly off piece, but let me just say that, I don't know where in my preparation for the journey, they were talking about the tree of life. And I really enjoyed that because that gave me the heart link again. He was likening the heart as the seed, the neck as the trunk of the tree, and everything on top, which would be the brain, the mind, the branches, and the whole crown of the tree. So
Yeah.
without the heart, there is no tree.
Yeah. This is true. And we experience already that in our reality. If you say mental about universe referring to order, agree 100%. It is order. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very structured, very organized order. Yeah.
Well, and that I think that talking, just going back to a second, talking about the masculine energy of the San Pedro and how it gives direction, right? I wonder if that's one of the ways you can sort of capitalize on that Mars line, right? With the passion and with the the doing energy, but what is that energetic direction, right, that you can intuit, right, being on that Mars line.
Yeah. And it's connected to the feminine, the true nature of us that is spiritual, and that is constantly in the flow. So you have the mental, just for the purpose of looking at it, or let's call it the personality, the ego, the individuation that we've been going through until now as the rock. And then the true nature of us, the spirituality, being the river. And now this is where the duality comes in, and this is where we're starting to sort of not move beyond it just yet, but no longer really trying to force the rock out of the river or force the river away from the rock, but really getting the true nature combined with our personalities. And I call the personality the soul, so the soul and the spirit coming together and just flowing. And then surrender, the personality surrendering to the spiritual flow, basically, to the true nature that we are, that Eastern philosophy, that grounding the Eastern philosophy into the Western, or balancing both of them together until we get to the stage where, the river no longer just flows separately through the country lanes, through the country, but actually goes into the ocean, where we're no longer bothered with stones, because we're going into the group soul consciousness. And this is when we're then going back to our today's topic, is once we are in that ocean of awareness, the lines getting blurred. There is no longer a need for any of these astrology lines. There's no need for borders anymore. There's no need for countries, because we're then moving back into that group soul consciousness eventually. Probably not this lifetime. So, I'm an optimist eternally.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, that just makes me think of like physics, doing a physics experiment, right? Where you see the wave energy, the particle, and then the wave, right? And they say that when you're observing those particles and waves, they're always going to look like particles because you're observing them in that moment, right? But really, truly, they're not particles because they're timeless. They're always a wave, but it's just that split second when you look at it, it becomes a particle.
Yeah, you collapse it. But and this is why, again, what Michelle invited us to look at today is just so beautiful, because we need to be able to shape shift from the ocean into the particle, but continuously, to just really appreciate the abilities and the experiences that we can actually have in this reality. And another thing which was presented in that prep work, going back to the tree of life, which I thought was great as well. The tree on top that is seated in the heart has so many different fruits, or everyone has a different tree of life, obviously, when you go do your visualization. But the importance of not picking the fruits before they're actually ripe. And that's just a beautiful, invitation again, and a reminder that this tree of life is not something that grows in one lifetime. And there is a long-term agenda of our soul. So even if I look at, when we look at our chart and once we are born, there will be similarities every lifetime, because we continue from where we left off, right? And if we haven't explored some of those lines in some of those countries, we'll come back exactly with the same lines, I would think.
Maybe be born on one of them that we haven't been able to explore fully.
Yeah. And there's a question, Michelle, because you see how many people are actually born into a biological family in a certain country, but leave that country and live in different places. Isn't it interesting? I think that would, if you ever asked yourself why that is, looking at one of those charts could give you some.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I've had a few clients who are the lineage breakers of their family, right? And they were born on lines that were, IC lines, so a lot of healing, a lot of ancestral healing, and then they left the country and moved. And yeah, I think it's a fascinating study. I feel like there's a lot of research that can go into astrocartography, like all the different ways that we can explore, why certain people leave, why certain people stay. I have some people that have never left their hometown, right? And even in the last few years, a lot of people haven't left their cities because of 2020. So it's really fascinating what we choose.
Yeah, I think about like my family, got 6 people in my immediate family, and everyone is born in a different state. So my dad in one place, my mom in one place, and then all of us kids, I have myself and 3 other siblings, all born in different places. I mean, all US, but yeah, it's interesting to to contemplate. It's like, why did she need to be born here and I was born here, right? I mean, that speaks to path, it speaks to purpose, but it also speaks to that flow, right? That somehow my parents stood in that energy flow. And my dad transferred, always went for the bigger, better job. So he sort of navigated that ship of our family to these different locations to, I don't know, maybe give each of us the best experience, to be born in a specific place.
Very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of, I think there's a lot of richness that we can gain from this tool set. So thank you so much for sharing it, Michelle. Thanks for coming on today. I'm glad we could find a day that worked for you.
I love talking about it. I love teaching. So thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Martina. Thank you, everyone, for being here and sharing in the conversation. And yeah, it's fascinating. There's always more to learn in this lifetime.
That's it. There's always more to learn. And I think that understanding too, like what is the learning relevance and what's distraction, right? That's an important distinction to make.
Yeah, especially in this time that we don't have enough time. It's so much that we have to continue learning.
And it's the first day of Sagittarius season today. So that's kind of funny because Sagittarius rules travel, freedom, expansion. So yeah, it's very fitting that I came on today.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
My ascendant. Yoo-hoo!
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Are there any other questions or comments or insights that anyone wants to share?
I was just wondering, we're talking about leaving and going somewhere, but you mentioned early on, the 3 years we were at home now with coronavirus, and how potent that must have been too, being forced to stay on certain lanes in
Mm.
certain places, right? And I think lots of people actually suffered from being incarcerated, you know, apart
Mhm.
now from whom they were with, because some people just love to travel. And that's part of that too, isn't it?
Yeah, the trauma there, right? For sure.
Having to be forced. And it was quite interesting to see how some people stayed together, some people stayed in different countries even though they lived together, you know, and you immediately go into, oh, what did it do to the relationship? But actually, what did it do to the planet, having these people almost displaced for a certain particular time
Mm.
during those trying times.
Mhm.
Well, that can mean that those energy were needed in that position at that time, specific.
And did we have to be there?
Yes,
You know, there was 2 years where I couldn't go back home to Austria, and I
Yeah.
always knew there was something about that.
yeah. Whatever it was, you had to be in a specific place.
It wasn't the right time. It would not have been the right time. Yeah. So fascinating.
Well, and thinking about people who got stuck in certain places, like I think about Melanie, and she got stuck in Australia during all of COVID, right?
Mm.
She couldn't travel, you know, back. I mean, she could have traveled back to the States, but the travel was very restrictive
Very challenge.
for her. But she did a lot of land healing work there during that time period. So
Yeah. It's like you went to do a job that you didn't know that you were hired for.
yeah, exactly. Well, I'm here. Might as well get shit done.
The grid keepers. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hey, Michelle, tell us again how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so I'm most often on Instagram, michelle.the.mystic. And I also have my podcast called Soul Over Matter. I actually just released an episode about ayahuasca yesterday on my personal journey. So yeah, please reach out, send me a DM. And if you're interested in a reading, let me know. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here.
Great. Thanks so much for taking the time, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hosting, Tanya, huh? Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.